Welcome to Market Makers, everyone. The crypto bottom may very well be in, and guys, we are on our way up in the most bullish time of the year for the Santa Squeeze rally. I think you're going to see 140, 150K plus in Bitcoin. I'm giving you 140, 150 because I have multiple patterns that show me that, but we have patterns that go as high as 177 now based off of this sell-off. So I have a lot to share with you here on this video. Guys, if you want to support the channel, please do check out SimpleFX, where you can trade all the markets, including cryptos. You can be a Market Makers VIP. That's for everybody outside the USA. If you live in the USA, you can check out Bitunix to trade the crypto markets and be a Market Makers VIP there. You want my education and videos throughout the week? You can join us with the join button right there on YouTube, and you hop on over to the Discord. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. So I shared this on X, guys, Market Canary. When? Before it happened. Okay, this is a pattern that I saw developing here. Weekly time frame on Bitcoin, paying special attention to these lunar cycle pivots as well. We had our big wave up. This is our massive uptrend off of the 2022 low. New all-time high, 30% plus retracement. We hit the RMA and we bottomed within 24 hours of the lunar cycle change. We had a breakout, new all-time high once again, 30+% retracement, once again hitting the RMA in the weekly time frame, and we bottom within 24 hours of the lunar cycle change. And I think we just did the same thing again. Breakout to the new all-time high. That's where we got our triple top pattern that formed. We sold off, hit the RMA. I said I thought we could go to 98.2. We went to 98.8, right? Knifing just below it. And within 24 hours of the supermoon, of the beaver moon, we may have formed our Bitcoin bottom for the next move up. We got as high as 8% up off the bottom right now. Let's just look at some of the targets based on ratio expansions, expansions of growth, okay? That's what we're looking at here on Bitcoin because we have this steeper sell-off near here at this topping pattern. We go to all-time high, pull it down to that 98.8. Look, you get your 142. You get your 153. So these are your two upside targets based on growth and expansion. However, if we end up viewing this as an ABC, which it may very well be, you can have competing patterns. Remember, pattern trading is all about confluence. Looking for confluence in the marketplace. This ends up getting you all the way up to 177K. You go from 158 to 177 here with an ABC. Okay, so these are all possibilities of what happens here in the marketplace. Now, what's interesting about that ABC projection taking you to 177, JP Morgan just came out this past week saying that Bitcoin should be at 170K as soon as within 6 months, okay? Which is interesting because the way I'm looking at this cycle, I expect 2026 to have a strong sell-off, okay? Now, I don't like to give projections on that sell-off until we have a final top because it matters where that top goes. You're looking at a different number if the top's already in at 126 versus if the top's in at 168, 170, 155. So it matters. But if you look historically at what Bitcoin's done, it's typically retraced roughly 75% after every major market peak. So that's just a historic number you can look at, but just understand, I believe much more upside is coming in the marketplace, guys. Let's go ahead and click forward. If we look at the lunar cycle pivots, again, going all the way back to the summertime, how they played out, guys. I cover this every video, so I don't want to dwell on it too long, but you can see how crucial they can be. And the way that I use lunar pivots is not the same way as you hear other people using lunar pivots because I trade with cycles and with patterns, okay? I'm looking at a strong trend, such as a new all-time high, having pattern resistance on Fibonacci, such as forming a beautiful W pattern, and then you happen to coincide synchronicity with a lunar cycle change right at resistance right stretching the pattern out, and that can give you a pivot to the day, the all-time high, 19.5% drawdown on the initial leg down, okay? You look at how the other pivots played out as well. You can see Bitcoin has been finding movement all along these pivots. And of course, the November 5th pivot that we just had, Bitcoin went up as high as 8% with just in a few days of hitting that lunar cycle low. It's just interesting to watch. The next pivot, by the way, is November 20th. So I would like to see upward movement until November 20th, and then you get some type of pullback, and then the next projection back up. But let's go ahead and look at this on our topping cycle, Bitcoin top and bottom chart, because this is kind of coincides with the 4-year cycle. This isn't the 4-year cycle to that degree. This is a topping cycle measuring from peak to peak with our early warning trigger system built into this that has played out every cycle since 2013. Again, remember, Bitcoin's only been around since 2008, 2009. So we look at our RMA. When this RMA crosses the previous cycle high, like it did in 2013, 2017, crossed the previous cycle high within 4 to 5 weeks. Some of these are about 4.5 weeks. Some are closer to 5. So we're going to say within 4 to 5 weeks, after it crosses the previous cycle high, you should have the top be in, and then you get the larger retracement, 75%. In 2021, within 4 to 5 weeks after you cross the previous cycle high of 2017, the top was in 75% retracement. Same thing here, guys, but here's where we are. We are at 64K. We have to cross 69K. So I don't know the exact date we're going to cross it. It depends on the price action. I have this projected out here sometime into December. But once we cross 69K, the previous cycle high, we should have the top in within 4 to 5 weeks of crossing 69K. Hope that clearly explains it to you, because some people were confused. Now, the other question I get asked is, does this have to play out? No, nothing has to play out, but this pattern's been playing out almost since the inception of Bitcoin. So we have to see, because market history tends to be the crutch that I lean on. I tend to agree Bitcoin's going to do what it's always done until it shows me it will do something different. So I'm looking for that final top to be in once we cross 69K within 4 to 5 weeks after that crossing. And that top, guys, again, I'm just giving you that baseline target of 150K. It could go higher, pushing towards that 168, 177K, depending if we get an ABC out of this, or it could be a little bit lower, such as the 142K. But either way, I do not believe the top is in Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and move forward. Looking at Bitcoin on an 8-hour chart, let's dissect this a little bit. Let's just look at some market structure, key levels of support and resistance. Here we are on the full moon, right? Super moon, you can see that right there on the bullish candle for this range. Up here is our all-time high. So let's just mark some of this stuff off. So I want to show you guys what I'm looking at. Then we'll look at this with fibs. But I want to show you market structure here, what you're doing, because you're forming a Wyckoff range down here. Down here, you have your low right near that 98, right? So here's your high, your rebound rally high. Let me zoom in so you can see a little bit. And then you have some movements here in price. So you have your sell-off, rebound up, retest the bottom, and then you make some higher lows. You guys hear me preach about this all the time. And what are you doing right here? On a smaller time frame, 8-hour time frame, so you're Livermore pivot. You're trying to hold that ceiling of support at 104.5. You're at 105.5 roughly. You're trying to hold that ceiling of support. You may chop around, but ultimately, if you take out that fractal, you're moving to the upside. So let's just look and see where some of these levels are from a fractal perspective of resistance. First near term is going to be 111.250. Next near term is 116.4. These are the first two levels you want to flip. The 116.4 is important because from a market structure standpoint, you got a lot of candles in here, right? You got a lot of resistance, a lot of volatility. So to see Bitcoin come up, tighten its spiral, Livermore pivot, come up to the upside, get in here where it may end up pulling back again. You want to see it hold that support level. And let's look at this from a Fibonacci standpoint, because if we look at our all-time high, that's that next last level of resistance at 126. So let's pull a fib from 126 down here to this level. All right, go down to your sell-off level low. Look where the 618 is, right beneath there. 115, 757 lines up right with that fractal high of 116. So again, this, what you're doing right now, is totally normal. You're up about 8% off the sell-off low. You have this little Wyckoff pattern in here. This could come down lower, guys, but you want to hold the higher low series. So it can come down lower, keep your lows intact. You're going to find resistance somewhere at 115, 116, up to 120 because that's the 786. But again, overall, it's about keeping your higher lows intact in the trend. And if you believe the cycle is calling for higher prices, as I do, these are the steps that you're going to take. You're going to get waves up. You're going to get waves down. And it's all about the market structure, how you hold on, what patterns you make, taking out the midpoint, proceeding to the next resistance level, the 618, 786. What do you do here? Do you sell back off, get some selling pressure, bounce back up? But what is your longer term trend from that 98.8? That's the important part, because every time Bitcoin will go up and sell off going here into November, December, people who are super bearish are going to tell you, see, this is it. This is why I'm shorting here. Now it's collapsing. Look, that's a possibility. I'm not saying that's not possible, right? I'm not blind to the possibility. Those of you that have been following this channel know that I made most of my money trading, shorting the market in 2022, right? That was like the best year because of how pinpoint we were able to nail the Bitcoin top. So I love to short. It's more exciting. You get gains faster. But I believe higher prices are ahead, which is why I'm long Bitcoin, which is why on my X, you should follow me there as well, I talked about longing the sell-off in Bitcoin and gave the levels for Bitcoin and Ethereum that I personally would trade. I would never tell you guys what to do with your money, but I told you what I would do, and it hit those levels beautifully and held the lows. So this is a pathway I see Bitcoin. It's going to be choppy until you get a big, strong, bullish catalyst to the upside. But as of right now, you're just making these nice little cute Wyckoff sell-off patterns. Wave down, wave up, retest the low, higher low in place, break out for your Livermore pivot, see if you can hold some of these levels, see if you can hold above 103.5, maybe you chop around and get some more volatility, but just look at your overall trend. You want to see progress of higher lows, get some higher highs, and when you break that fractal high to the upside, 106.7, then look for your move up to that 111, 112, and get in this range and start approaching that 115, 116 range, because that's going to be the big test. Right back at the 618, right? Get back up to that 618. You flip that, guys. If you can hold 115, 116 for support, you're going to new all-time highs. It's that simple. You have to flip it and hold it. And until then, it's going to be a little bit of a grind getting up there. Nice movement so far. And if we just look at the indicators here on the 8-hour time frame, Bitcoin's in bullish territory on the Canary RSI, volume's bouncing up, momentum's bouncing up, but it's just not, it's not a, an adrenaline-filled rally yet, but that's because the markets are in extreme fear. So understand that. So it's working, it's churning. You're going to see this maybe for another week here. Maybe get to mid-November when you see the markets really start pushing up more, which you're having a nice green day today, by the way. But you're going to see this progress is going to be made, and then you're going to have the Santa squeeze rally propel you higher, upward, and onward. You look at total, this is important because it's all the money in crypto. Look at your support structure. There's your liquidation wick where you lost $1 trillion. You came back down and retested it. Since then, you made the spike up. And remember, how does price move? Moves in waves. You're going to come up, find some resistance point, probably get some type of pullback, right? And everybody will tell you that's it, it's over. And then you're going to move back up again. You're going to see progress have to be made because even on total, you can see your resistance point, 3.9 trillion. So it's important to get back above 3.5, hold in this range, maybe chop around, make some progress to the upside. Ultimately, you want to crush 4.27 trillion, your all-time high, and that's how you get Bitcoin up to those higher numbers. But you're making progress. Just be aware. Waves move up, waves move down. Hold the market structure of higher lows. That's the bullish, important catalyst if the Santa squeeze cycle is going to play out, which I believe it is. Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum right here, 8-hour time frame. You can see this. You're doing the same thing as Bitcoin, right? So largest altcoin. You had your wave down of selling, wave back up, higher low, started testing here, broke out, found resistance right at these fractal lows at 36.72. So what are you doing? You're pulling back some. This can pull back some more. You could see Ethereum back at 33.50 if that's what it wants to do. Chop around. Eventually it's going to come back up and take out that high of 36.57. And again, zoom out, guys. Look at the trend. A lot of you guys that trade on really small time frames like hourly or 15-minute, you might be missing the trend, but I believe the bottom is in on Ethereum. It occurred down here at 3,055. And by the way, on this sell-off, guys, I gave the precise level Ethereum went to on X, where I said I would be buying it, and it's made a great move. It's up 20% off the lows. It's up 20%, right? 19.72%. It came down to the 618, and off of that level, it was up 14.5%. So Ethereum's doing what I want to see it do, and keep in mind, you just have all of this resistance structure to you right here, but this will eventually be tackled. Flip 36.72, eventually it'll be chopping back around here between 36.72 and 42.52. That's going to be about getting on top of that level and breaking out. We'll have more videos between now and then. You guys can always join the Discord. It's a join button right there on YouTube as well. And you can talk to me every day about this stuff if you wish. And the staff and the members, great people there. Let's look at our fibs from the high to the low. Look where that 42.52 lines up with. Right here at the 618. Again, that's going to be the key level, right? So Ethereum can play around down here, come back down, come back up. You want to see it re-enter above 36.50, get towards 42.52. That's the key level to flip and hold as support. Base breakout, you're going to a new all-time high. And again, with crypto, you guys know how volatile this is. These moves can happen quickly. Right now, nothing's happening quickly because we're in the doldrums of fear. When you get adrenaline in the market, when you get euphoria in the market, that's when you see the big moves. Until then, hold your market structure. Look at your higher lows in trend. Look at your low. Look at your higher lows and try to keep this trend going. Be aware you're going to chop up. You're going to chop down. People will tell you everything's falling apart. Nothing's falling apart unless you sweep your lows, right? You're not going to substantially lower levels in the cryptos unless you sweep your lows. Ethereum's being very strong. Bitcoin's being strong, and you're going to see this rebound further, I believe. Let's just look at some, what we got here? Solana. If we look at Solana, same concept, guys. You have your little Wyckoff fractal that forms, sell off. You have your wave structure, higher lows, breaking out to the top side. Your wave structure, can you hold 160? That would be great. If not, watch your 150 level, right? Come back in here. But overall, keep the structure going of your low down here at 145. You're at 166. Keep above your lows and just get this structure, this coil going, because eventually this will resolve to further upside. Need a flip 189. Ultimately, 205 has been that key level in Solana this whole time. Once you flip those levels here in the 8-hour time frame, you're bullish on the canary. Momentum's finally turning bullish. It's just not an adrenaline-filled bullish rush just yet, right? And that's the whole crypto space in general. If we look at this from a Fibonacci perspective, let me pull this up, see your key level resistance down here at your level. 212 is that key level. I have it as 205, gets you above these peaks, but get above that 212. Look, you got to get above eventually 230, 253. I have a lot of faith in Solana, a lot of faith in Ethereum. You guys have seen some of these altcoins just go flying. Some other altcoins just really lagging. And again, that's just the nature of this space. You're going to have winners, you're going to have losers, you're going to have laggards, you're going to have ones that catch up there at the end really rapidly and quickly. But just play it safe. Look at what you own, see what the prices are doing, be aware of those wicks that we got down there on that November 5th time frame, right in there. You want to hold those lows regardless of what coins you're looking at and just see consistent progress. It may be slow at first and then it may speed up like a snowball going down the side of a mountain, but much higher prices I do believe are ahead, guys. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Consider joining us on our Discord. Hope to see you guys there and have a fantastic week trading, everybody.